Morning, everyone. I would like to call the February 10th meeting for the Council Review Committee to order. And before we start with our business, I would like for each of you all for the record and to say hello, state your name.
Charles Bird.
Mark Cancia.
Amy Thompson.
And we thank you, the city thanks you, and I thank you very much for agreeing to do this. Do we have anyone that is signed up for public comment? Thank you. We don't have any public comment. So what our business is for today is to look at your 9 positions, not as the members that are currently there, but what a salary should be, if it needs to stay the same, needs to increase, but you will be looking at this for those that come into office May of 27. So what we will be doing is looking at other cities, and so let's dive on into it. And this second sheet, I tried to give you some comparisons. We can look at other states, like Tupelo used to be compared to us. But I thought this would give you a good idea. I have at least 5 other cities if you would like to look at. And these are even taking it yearly. Well, ours is, the current is $6,000 per year. So in July of 23, it went from 300 to 500. And that is where it has stayed. 4 years ago, we looked at it. We do this every 4 years. 4 years ago, it was looked at, and the council could not come to an agreement. And I will say some of the reason for that is there were stipulations put in of what should be expected of council members. And at that time, we had the late wonderful Harvey Buchanan, who was ill and couldn't make some meetings and couldn't make some agenda reviews. So we felt it was wrong to penalize a person in the future if they had health or different reasons they couldn't make, especially like agenda review meetings. So that is why we are still currently at $500 a month. You have taxes taken out of that, and we are not like general city employees. We are not allowed to join the pension. So basically, that is our allowance per month, and we do receive a city phone, and one member asked for a laptop and was permitted to get that. But the rest of us all just have city phones. So now I'd like to open it up for discussion and questions. And just going to open the floor to you all.
You mentioned that city council members are not allowed to participate in the pension plan.
Correct.
Are they allowed to participate in the city's health insurance?
No. Council members we are not considered vested after 5 years, so that excludes pension, anything that the city would offer, any type of benefits, even gym. I think at one time we could have done the gym membership maybe. But no. And we do have Kelsey Merriweather here, HR director, and she's going to look into that. But I would say no. I haven't known of any.
County Commission, I think they can participate in health plans, can't they?
They did, they're self-insured, so they do have the flexibility to determine who can be a part of their plan.
And Kelsey, if you would like to join us, you are welcome to.
So again, to reiterate, the county does have that ability to do so. They're self-insured and has the option to basically classify a group of who may be eligible. I think they did just adopt that also for their county commissioners.
Okay.
And Kelsey, would you like to go ahead and state that the county commission, just for comparison, did, which, if you would like to state what they just moved to.
Sure. They just approved, their county commissioners increase from $500 to $750. That is per month. And then their chairman does get their salary was moved from $1,000 to $1,500, just to.
And that would be nice, but we don't do that.
Right.
Or haven't ever done it in the past.
Yeah. So in 2003, when it went from 300 to 500, what was the rationale behind that increase?
That would have just been, it comes up every 4 years, and so they elected to do that. And I will say on a personal note that when you are a new council member and that comes up when usually every 4 years, so you're new at one point. So when that came up, I was uncomfortable voting a raise for me. So you have to put the personal aspect into it too. When you're considered, I consider myself just working for the people, and I did not feel comfortable voting for an increase. But now, since I've been here 7 years, and I look at it like I might not be in that position in a year and a half. So you need to look at all of the positions up here and not the current members, but what is an adequate amount pay. And then you do have to, I would suggest, to look at what outlying cities that are compared, but maybe not compared to us. But I could only find one anywhere that was lower, and it wasn't lower by much, and it was a tiny place. So let me go back. I want this to be your all's discussion.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I think we will have the discussion. Amy?
Yeah, it's been 23 years. I think it's fair to say that, a raise is reasonable. My primary question would be, does the budget support it? I know that there's been some contention about the budget this past year, 2 years, and so I want to make sure that, whatever we do vote in, that the budget supports it.
Okay, let's say it was $100. Let's just use that as an example. That's $900 additional a month. Is that, should have gotten my I'm usually real good at this. Let's do it.
I know you're using the $100 example, but I did do a rough calculation using, if we went from 500 to 750,
Okay,
then we're already paying out $54,000 for the city council salary. But if we went to the 750, then we're looking at an additional $27,000.
okay. All right, and what this would do is it would not go into effect this year, but it would be the year of 27.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and recognize Seth. Seth, good to see you, and thank you for being here. And Seth, if you would just state your name and hello for us.
Hello, I'm Seth Rudd.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And Seth, what we have done is really just, we're looking at the comparisons of other cities.
Okay.
And we are talking about the past, that our current salary is $500 for council members, and that increased in 2003, and there has not been an increase. So the current question is, why was there an increase then? We would have to go back and look at the notes, but I would think that it was just because it was time to vote and those current members were comfortable doing so. And I had stated, Seth, that 4 years ago we did this study, and I was brand new, and I was very aware of what you just said. I wasn't comfortable giving myself a raise. And then there were other circumstances why other members didn't want to vote for a raise. So let's continue the discussion. And I hope that answered as best as I could answer it.
Yeah. And I appreciate you asking about whether or not it's in the budget, Amy, because that was definitely a question circling in my mind. And then I just thought, I mean, I imagine that the salaries come from city taxes.
Correct.
Yeah. And then, so two things. One, I do wonder, is there an ask that's already on the table? Like, is there an amount in mind? And then the second question that I have is, for future reference, if there's not a specific amount, could there be a formula created for an increase with a cap after several years of service, so that there is just some continuity in how salaries are made?
Okay, we did the mayor's salary and finished that yesterday. And it's not in any way apples to apples, but how we looked at that was the previous mayor's salary was already around 136. So the current mayor inherited that salary. And then 4 years ago, I believe we gave him a 6 to 7% increase. And also each year he had steps. So it went from 136 to next year the mayor, whoever the mayor may be in 27, would be 147. And so yesterday we voted, because of the research of a lot of these cities, we looked at economic situation, population. We are a hub city, and I don't want to get too much into that, but we elected that we were in a good spot for that current position, and that we would allow a 2.5% cost of living increase. So this is at the discretion of this committee, and Kelsey being the HR director, unless you would see that there was something wrong, but I would only stipulate changes for 4 years, because in 4 years, a new committee will be elected, put forth. So I would not want to put anything past 4 years. So the answer is, I'm going to ask Kelsey, but I
Sure.
do not think there would be anything wrong with a cost of living maybe increase, and then that would end in the 4 years.
Sure, and I, hearing this information, hearing Mark, your kind of recommendation, you know, it's common to be on a kind of a step progression, and that may alleviate maybe potential budget constraints if it's more of a gradual increase as opposed to a hard stop for the next 4 years. So, I mean, again, it's at the discretion of you all's committee, but it's definitely something we can support. But like you mentioned, Marta, it just needs to be reevaluated every 4 years, so.
And I would say that this is going to be for the budget of 27. So I feel comfortable, even though we are definitely watching every penny. I do feel comfortable, even the mayor, I don't want to speak for him, so let me take that back. I do feel comfortable that the 27,000, just as an estimate, would be able to be put into the budget. Okay.
That's your
As-
discretion, I'm
As,
just providing
as a council
information.
member and looking through it,
Yeah.
I would say yes, and I think you have to look at it twofold. It's been since 2023, and I really wanted to be just a moderator. I want to be
2003.
2003,
Yeah.
excuse me, yes. I want you all to think through this process, because I don't want you to look at me up here. I want you to look at me as just, I'm bringing you the facts, the information. Let's talk through it. But there is something to the fact of some people are on more committees than others. Some people are more active than others. And you do want good people up here. So I do not want to sway, but I want us to continue with the discussion, and I want it to be your all's thoughts.
How often does the council meet? I know that there's pre-agenda and then there's agenda meetings. So what kind of average time commitments
Okay?
are involved.
It does really vary.
Right.
But each council member should at least be putting in the Thursday night agenda review and the Tuesday morning. Each council member is on at least 3 other committees. It's kind of their discretion whether they go to those or not. I think I'm on 7. You know, so it just varies. And I do not have a full-time job right now, so I do not mind doing that. And I look at this as my full-time job, and I love it. So at least the 2 meetings, but each person is named, and we can even tell you which committees they're on, but each person is named. The person immediately to my right, if I'm sitting there, JP is on City Beautiful. I know that's one of his main areas. Russ is active in Park and Recs, if you go to my right. Frank McMean serves, oh yes, he is chairman of our budget committee. Moving down, Larry is on budget, not budget, excuse me, audit. That is one of his main committees. Moving down from there, Julie is on airport and hospital. Moving down from there, Johnny is on the CRA, community development. Richard serves on the transit committee. What's the correct term for that? JTA, thank you. And Candace is on the committee that oversees if there's any trips or allowances. And then I serve on the library, planning, zoning, symphony, audit. So it's kind of varied. Now, I couldn't remember what each one of those did, but I know those are some of their main ones. So each one has at least 3. Thank you, Markeisha.
Do we know what the total city budget is?
1.2. I really hate to answer that. Should we ask Nathan?
Yeah,
we
didn't mean
can
to put you on the
confirm.
spot.
No. And we have increased in the past 6 to 7 years from about 88 to 100. But you have to look at that. We are growing. We do have to anticipate and hope for a Great Wolf Lodge. We do have to anticipate that we are a hub, that we are looked at. We go through I-40. I-40 goes through Jackson. And I started to do a ICE exam, but we're not going to dare go there. But we are considered a hub. That's why we're called that. So we do feel like we have a lot of growth potential and a lot to look forward to. So but I do want to reassure you, I think if I even put the mayor on the spot, that he wants good council members surrounding him to make good decisions, and I feel like he would support a $20,000 to $27,000 increase. We are projecting a higher revenue than last year. All of our taxes are not in yet, but we are expecting a higher revenue. We still have the increase in homes that are, going up. So it does look like a very good future for Jackson.
Of these other cities, do we know how many council members there are?
Ooh, I did not find
Okay.
out
I'm
that.
just curious.
That's something we can,
We can figure out. I'm making this a follow-up.
I mean, just being real candid, I'm very much a fiscal conservative.
yes.
But I believe it's just like any job. Sometimes you get what you pay for. And I agree with what you said. The mayor says you want a strong slate of candidates. You don't want, I've seen not just city council, but county commission, you have seats that go unchallenged because nobody wants to spend the time for as little money as it pays.
Right.
And I think most people that serve on those two bodies, they're not in it for the money, but like
Right.
you're wanting to serve, but
Right.
ought to at least somewhat compensate them for the time they take off of their job.
Right.
You know, it's been a number of years ago, I think if you served in the General Assembly, you got maybe 18,000 a year. And I don't see how they could even, I mean,
Meet-
cover their
meet
expenses
that.
with that, you
Yeah.
know? But,
So the last raise was 2003.
Three.
right,
$500 in 2003 is the equivalent of $875 today. So, I mean, I think if we were to, per meeting, per month, I guess, what would be the effect of that? So that would be, the difference in that would be $375, right? $375 times 9 times 12. That'd be an increase of 40. But you said we were really wanting to target it around 25,000.
That was just a number that
Okay.
we put out there. I'm gonna put my thought in for just the discussion.
don't be hesitant because, I mean, we
Right.
need somebody who's in.
Well,
very-
I think the public would understand, but I think the public is also in a position right now of what are we getting for our money? What are we doing with our money? Where are we going with our money? I mentioned the word forecast, and wasn't a good word. It should be that we are anticipating what our income would be, and then anticipating what our expenses are gonna be for the next 4 to 5 years. I think 5 years and 10 years. So
Yeah.
I think a $300 raise would be a shock to the public. I'll say that. I'm sure whoever runs in 27 would appreciate it, but I think we have to be mindful that this is the taxpayers' money. And even just a nice $100 to $200 would be appreciated, and it can be evaluated again in 4 years. And Mark, as you brought up, if you want to add a cost of living, a 2.5, the Social Security this past year was 2.8. What we set the mayors at yesterday was 2.5. So there is nothing wrong with saying, let's do X amount of an increase and then X amount for cost of living. But I would be hesitant to say going up that much, even though, Seth, it makes sense. You can certainly justify it from the year 2003, but from a taxpayer standpoint and how it would be viewed, a lot of times they aren't given all this background information.
Yeah, well,
I would
just,
encourage the media to,
you can just get on Facebook to make an intelligent
I
decision.
can,
you know,
but I'll
that's-
wait for your Ole Miss stuff and then just plug in whatever I want to say in there with it.
Mark, what were you thinking as far as the cost of living adjustment? Is that like an annual adjustment or?
You know, I didn't think that deep into it, but it's a question that was kind of circling in my mind, right? To make it systematic. But I do like the work that you did in seeing what the dollar was worth in 2003 versus now. And I think, you know, in terms of like the community, I think it would be good, like when it is shared after 20 years, the city council receives an increase, right? And I think anybody could understand like that rationale, right? And why.
Agreed,
Well,
agreed.
I think the public too will understand, can anybody who will read about this meeting mention one person who has not had a raise in 23 years?
True, that's true.
Yeah.
I do think the public is very smart, very savvy. It is up to them to research, but I do think the facts stand on their own merit. But I do think we still have to consider that if there's not a lot of discussion, not a lot of the facts out there, that a $300 raise might appear. And I'm just speaking because I would even have a hard time, I have a hard time voting for myself a raise. But I look at it, this would not be voting for me a raise. I do not know if I would be there. So you're looking at the next group of 9 that will be serving the city of Jackson.
That's, I think, the way most governing bodies do. If they do pass a pay increase, it'll be for those serving in the next term.
Yeah. Yeah. But like Charles said, your voice matters, especially now because you're an insider and you're the advocate, right? For those that the work that you know needs to be done.
I appreciate having city comps to compare. You know, I do want us to make note of, you know, the population size of these cities. It's not necessarily comparable to what Jackson is, but not just the population size, but what's that city budget?
Economically.
You know, there may be, you know, some, like, you know, Knoxville, you're looking at 24,000 per council member. Again, we don't know how many council members we have, which you are gonna bring to us, but, you know, you've got a population of roughly 200,000. That's, you know, twice what Jackson has, and, you know, maybe like 2.5 times. But what's the, you know, they have different revenue streams, you know, what's their budget? And so I do want us to make sure that we are, when we are comparing, you know, we're taking into account population size and budget size. You know, because we've got, you know, Oxford, Mississippi, they're a third of our population, but they have a much higher salary. But
I thought
you know,
that would just get Charles's attention for this reason.
I appreciate that.
and so, but again, different revenue streams, and, you know, we don't know budget sizes or, you know, how many members are part of the council. So, you know, I do think that those are all relative factors that,
And I can pull up some of the cities that we compared. Tupelo, Mississippi was one of them we compared yesterday for the mayor. I believe Chattanooga I can pull that up pretty quickly. Or Markeisha, do you still have that email of yesterday, what we printed out, so I can give to them what we compared? I can pull it up on my computer, but she might be able to do it faster.
I think
And would
Tupelo has
Nathan
7.
be able to answer our question?
He did. General fund is about 100 million. He said the whole thing is about 132.
Now, the 32 is a little bit, because that is waste that is not really considered in our, it's health and sanitation, I believe it is. And that is not really considered. When we do our budget, that part is not really considered in what council makes decisions on. Did I say that? Okay? Okay, all right. Would you ask Nathan if he would be able to just answer the question in 2027, how the budget process works, and if it was voted upon today, if 27 to 30,000 would be able to work into the budget? And you also need to remember that your tax revenue, if there's 2 new subdivisions, how much that brings in, and that could even cover the cost of that. So you do need to you do need to also look at the growth. Thank you so much, Markeisha. I told you she was our hero. Okay, Kelsey, you're gonna have to.
Oh, break it down. Yeah, sure.
You're gonna have to look at.
So some cities that are comparable in size, kind of some things that we looked at in regards to the mayor. Let me see.
I appreciate y'all going this in-depth, because, you know, that's what we need, and I really do appreciate it. And I'll pull it up for you too, Kelsey, so we can have it a little bit larger.
Okay.
I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but economically, Tupelo is probably the closest to us of these
That's-
listed.
That's what we discussed earlier in our preliminary meeting, and then we discussed that yesterday. But it's really hard because you have to look at, for the mayor, it was strong mayor, supported by council. So, and most of these towns are, I would say.
Yeah, some cities we looked at was Gulfport, Mississippi, regionally, because we needed to expand. Gulfport, Mississippi, Pensacola, Florida, roughly have around the same amount of citizens, but also employees, and salary range that was comparable to what we have. So that's kind of what we looked through. We also looked at city of Lebanon. Lebanon was kind of relatively close. And then another document that was provided. We did look at Bowling Green, Smyrna, and Tupelo.
So on this list, the most comparable are Tupelo, Bowling Green, and Smyrna?
Smyrna.
Okay, those three.
And we can quickly pull up some more. I had some more, but
Yeah, I just did a quick Google search on the cities, and it seems like as far as number of city council members, they're pretty comparable to us. Knoxville has 9, Tupelo has 7, Oxford has 7, Clarksville 12. I did not look up Bowling Green, I don't think.
Bowling Green has 5.
5.
Okay. Smyrna 7, Owensboro 4, Bartlett 6, Franklin 8, Chattanooga, same as us, they have 9, and Hendersonville has 12.
I think Chattanooga's a pretty good comparison too, but
This kind of reminds me, and this goes back to my term on the county commission, which was a while back, but you had, for years, City of Jackson police officers were getting consistent raises, whereas the deputies at the sheriff's department were not. And I mean, this is not the situation here, but the sheriff's department struggled to keep good officers because they would jump. You know,
right.
the officer would go to get better benefits and pay, but I think it looks like we're kind of in the same situation as the sheriff's department was back then. It's just raises have not been, I mean, we know you hadn't had a raise in 23 years, but
Yeah.
obviously it hadn't been done consistently to keep up with our, municipal peers.
While South is calculating, what other hesitations, concerns, or discussion? Let's continue that, because I want you all to feel like you have good information. And while we're here, Nathan is wonderful. He could be in a meeting. We always do this to him. We just yank him out. But he's a wealth of knowledge. So I would like for him to answer if he could.
He's responded. I asked the question based upon his knowledge, general opinion of, with the board budget support potentially 27 to 30K in 2027, an additional. He was like, sure, yeah, absolutely. He don't see a problem with it.
I wouldn't either, and that's a lot of money, but 100 million, when you're looking at it, I know an area right now we could cut out and get 22,000, and I always pick on this person, so I'm not gonna say who he is. Because he'll know when I say that. But I do feel like that would be an easy amount to come up with. I think, I don't know if I should have really said it that way or not, but I will say with property taxes, more homes being built, people moving into our community, that it would support a $20,000 to $30,000 raise in the year 27.
You meant a raise or total?
Total. I mean,
Okay.
I would not be comfortable asking more than $200 to it because I don't want to put shock to the public. And even though it could be more, the facts justify that. But again, it's the taxpayers' money. I want to be able to flip my button up. And I'm going to tell you, I told you how wonderful that Nathan Reed is, our city recorder. So as he walks in, Nathan, please come on
How are
in.
you?
And we are sorry, we always catch you off guard.
Thank you, Nathan.
Didn't even bring a tie.
Nathan, if you all would, again, just tell who you are. This is Nathan Reed. He is our city recorder. He has only been with us a year and 3 months.
Something like
Did I
that.
do that
Yeah.
correct? But he has really hit the ground running. He is a supporter of the council. He knows the numbers better than anyone. And Nathan, what we are discussing is our current salary for council members is this. These are outlying cities. The last time the council was given a raise was in July of '23.
2003.
2003, excuse me, I keep wanting to.
It's hard to believe, but
Put
that
it
is
up
it.
there more. So that went from 300 to 500 per month. So what these intelligent group of our committee, these intelligent people are asking, with our current situation, budget is a big question. If they elected to increase, say, $200 to $300 per council member, say an increase of 27,000 per year. And that would not go into effect until May of '27. So they want to feel comfortable because the public needs, as you say, it's fluid. But can you give us a little reassurance? I mentioned property taxes, the increase in homes, the revenue that we're bringing in.
Yeah. So we see an increase in assessment every year. People are building new commercial and residential properties. That combined with sales tax, which is essentially, the city has two primary sources of revenue. One of them is property tax and the other is sales tax. Sales tax responds to inflationary pressures, so sales tax is essentially indexed to inflation. The more things cost, the more sales tax you pay. Property tax is not that way. Property tax responds to basically development. Both of those things mean that as long as, well, Jackson has always been very good for sales tax, but both of those things mean that as long as we continue to see at least the modest growth that we're seeing, the revenue will increase every year. Now, of course, expense increases every year because expense is directly tied to inflation, you know. And Kelsey had sent me a message a minute ago on the instant messenger, and she asked me about the $27,000 to $30,000 number, and without being, that's a lot of money to me, okay? But without being flip about it, that also is sort of a rounding error for us. Does that sound bad, Marta?
No, I tried to express it too, that these are people that you want to compensate.
Right.
The mayor, whoever it may be, wants to be surrounded by people that he can depend on. The facts from 200003, we'll get it right, does say that there should be some increase, but we do not want to shock the citizens. So I was encouraging not over 300, maybe even around 200, but I really want that to be their decision and from facts that they're comfortable with.
Can I speak philosophically for a moment?
You just do, he is good, you just do whatever you would like to do.
So there are cities much larger than ours that have full-time councils, essentially. They're paid what for some of us would be a full-time wage. Now, most of those people also have other jobs, but they have offices and staff and all of this stuff. And so you get a sort of a philosophical conversation. Do you want people who are seeking a council seat for a job? And I would think that primarily you don't want that. But at the same time, you want to be able to compensate people because they are taking time out of, just like you guys are taking time out of your day to sit here and do this, they're doing this a couple of times a month, sometimes more. And so it needs to make it worth their time, but perhaps not so much that you have folks that don't really want to be there, they're just signing up for the job so they can get the paycheck, And so, I mean, this is all just, this all seems incredibly reasonable to me. What you're being paid now is 23 years old.
Right. Yes.
That seems
Seth's even calculated.
that seems a little long. Were you around for the last conversation about
Yes,
this?
yes.
How did that go?
We had some stipulations put on along with the increase. And due to several members not being able to make so we voted against it.
I remember hearing about
because
that
of
conversation.
The stipulations.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm encouraging them not to put stipulations. I would love for it to be required that we go to Thursday night and the Tuesday meeting, but things do happen. So we really just need to look at the pay and leave the things that every council member should hold in high regard, that cannot be part of a stipulation in the pay.
Yeah, I've seen some governments, they will set a salary for an office holder. But it's kind of like a cap. They will get paid based on the number of meetings they attend. If they attend them all, they, make that amount. I think that would overcomplicate
It would. 'Cause
matters.
I would be getting people
Yeah.
mad at me.
I know.
So,
I will say this, I don't remember the exact years, so I went off the county commission in 2011. Back then, the council commissioners were paid $300 and city council was $500. I'm not sure when they made the jump from $300 to $500, but now they've made another jump to $750.
Yeah.
So in that length of time, they've done
County
two pay
commission
raises.
just voted from 500 to 750, I believe, yesterday.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
sometimes, so,
okay.
yeah.
So really what we would like from you, Nathan, without you having the numbers, one of the questions was, what is our total budget? And I tried to explain the 30,000 health and sanitation that's really not a piece.
So the general fund budget, which is where council pay generally comes from, is right at $101 million.
I did good.
So total city budget is about 132 million. And that includes debt service and some other things, so.
So would you be comfortable without putting your job, this just has to be all yes, you guys, to be quite frank. But again, we have to look at Jackson's future is bright, and we have to all believe in that and strive for that. Would you be comfortable saying in the year 27 that the salaries went up for city council members approximately 20 to 30,000?
It wouldn't bother me at all.
Okay.
I mean,
Is the goal to vote today on this increase at this meeting, or?
If not, we need to meet again either Friday or Monday if we could. The
Okay.
weather got us behind, and the bylaw states that it needs to be voted on 18 months prior to the election.
Okay.
So we have to have 2 readings. We might only have to have 1, but for comfort's sake, we wanted it on the March agenda if we could.
No, I just wanted to make sure that we were all mindful of that. that's
But I
what the
want
goal.
this to be your all's call. If you want to do your own research, that is great. We can come back together, with the mayors. I even asked them if they had information to share it. Then Kelsey went back and found some more information. So it's really whatever you all. Seth, what do you think?
I think it's completely appropriate and I'm comfortable with it. I mean, kind of going back and trying to put everything together. We haven't had a raise since 2003. The 500 equivalent today is $875. We're not comfortable going all the way up to
Right,
875.
Right.
So what if we roughly cut it in half? That would be 175. So that would be 675,
Okay.
which, and we're talking a month. So that'd be a total of $8,100, which is still less than our comparables, which is Tupelo, Bowling Green, and Smyrna. All of that cost is roughly $20,000, maybe a little less, which is around 0.012% of the budget. And our man is comfortable with that.
Yep.
I think Mark's got a good point of we need to build in some type of cost of living adjustment. What would make sense to me is that you match it with what the city does. Does the city have a annual cost of living adjustment?
We do, it's at like 2.5%, yeah.
And that's what we did for the mayor
It was
yesterday.
1.5 this year, but and just to be, I don't know that you can do that
For council,
for council.
Okay.
even though we did it for the mayor yesterday.
I don't know that you can do it for him either. I'm sorry.
We did in the past.
4 years ago, you all did.
They said they did a cost of living every year.
Yep,
Yesterday we did.
back in 4 years ago, it was like at 5%, and then they did like 2%, 2% every year.
Every year. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You may want to ask, but
Okay,
I mean,
we
if you
can
can,
confirm.
go ahead.
Who would we ask?
Legal.
Jim Tass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Could we, I know I can call, my phone's in the car, or I could call. Louis.
They'll end up doing some research, so I mean,
Yeah.
we won't get a,
Okay. Okay.
but I mean, that's a great idea if you can do it.
So,
Well,
I mean, I guess where I'm at is if we go up to 675 per month, and then we figure out the cost of living. I mean, what are your thoughts?
We did 1.5% last year.
Last year, 1.5.
when we did the salary study, we were hopeful to do 2% per year for employees, when we did the salary study about 5 years ago. And for employees of the city, what we looked at is, we were really behind the ball for employees. So we made a big adjustment, and then we're still trying to just do the small 2%, to 3% per year. I bet I could call, you wanna just call Louis real quick and just see if there's, I don't see how it could be different from doing the mayors and doing the councils. But
I mean, there's a constitutional prohibition against changing an elected official's salary inside the term of their office.
Okay.
But if you vote to do a cost of living adjustment before the term begins, I don't know if that's covered or not. Do you
I get
see
what
what,
you're
do you see what
saying.
I'm
I
saying?
understand, yep.
So,
I do, okay. All right, well, let's continue the discussion then. Are you all comfortable with 675? I'd like to let's start there.
I'm comfortable
Yeah.
with that
So
as a minimum.
I think that's a good minimum also. I liked your number earlier, the 875 number. But I do think if we could go like at least to get it to what the county commissioners are at, which is 750.
That's what I'm aligned with, and that's where, I had calculated it would be roughly 27,000.
Does that give you heartburn?
Increase.
Okay. Make sure. Yeah.
If we're doing a 2% adjustment, if we start with 675, then you're looking at 810 next year. And so that, puts us above the 750 already.
Okay.
And then Yeah,
Yeah,
I
But
just,
this is for 2027, right?
right, right, yeah.
Starting in 2027.
One of the things that makes this difficult from a
Didn't, let me see.
from a public perception is that it'll be a big jump, and that's because it's been 2 decades plus since it's been changed. And you look, and I know it's apples and oranges to a degree. City charter for the city of Jackson, the responsibilities of these ladies and gentlemen is different than the county commission, where you got 25 people sharing the burden.
Sure.
But I'm like you, I kind of like seeing parity between the two bodies. Because who knows how long it'll be. I mean, I hope it's not going to be another 23 years before they look at a pay raise here, but.
Yeah, I also think kind of splitting the difference between the 675 and the 875 at, not a true split, but settling in at 750, I think I think the public would be able to wrap their heads around that, you know, given it has been 2 decades, but it's not so much a shock that there's gonna be an uproar about it. I mean, there's gonna be somebody that raises a stink about it.
You can't
I mean,
make
there's
everybody
just-
happy.
You cannot satisfy everybody, and not everybody's gonna do the work to research the issue and,
I'm comfortable with it. I'm comfortable with
just-
750.
And I think, you know, the city, right, the city is responsible to act as a leader, right? And so I would assume that other decision makers would make similar decisions, right? That takes into consideration the cost of living, what they're paying their staff people, so that our entire community can thrive, right? And I think as the city, we lead that work. Or there's an opportunity to lead that work.
That's another distinction between city council and county commission. County commissioners can participate in the county health plan, which they can't.
No, we don't.
Is a motion needed?
A motion is needed. What we could do is go ahead and make a motion, find out about the cost of living. Are you all wanting, I think we need to have 2 motions. One needs to state what we want to raise this to, period. The next one needs to be upon the research and coming back to the members of this body if it is allowed to have a cost of living. And Nathan, I said that it could not exceed over the 4 years, because in 4 years, a new committee will be formed to research this.
It'd be interesting if you could make the cost of living equivalent to whatever, for example, Social Security sets or something like that, because you never know
But
what
that's
inflation's
a
gonna do.
variable.
Yeah, right. But you almost
I
something
would
set,
be
right?
comfortable with 2.5, because it's always around 2 to 3. But I
Okay.
want this to be your all's decision. I think you're gonna give him a little bit more, if we have to look at what Social Security, I'd like to make it as simple as possible, but I'd like your feedback there.
Not just for 4 years too, though.
I mean, if it were just, if it were a flat number, it would certainly be easier to figure out. Then you wouldn't have to be deciding. I mean, if you tie it to CPI, all items at a certain date, that would be fine, but it would certainly be a lot easier just to say it's 2%, or
Sure.
it's what, you know, I mean, so.
Okay, that makes
I
sense.
would be comfortable with 2.5, because that's what we did for the mayor. That would also kind of bring them up a little bit. And maybe not as much shell shock on our taxpayers.
Yeah.
and I like the idea of having 2 separate motions, you know, a motion to vote on, you know, an incremental increase for today, and then coming back and voting on the
Did you get a
cost
hold
of
of
living,
us?
No response.
depending
No,
on
he didn't answer.
Okay, what about
what that
Teresa
research
Lynn?
says.
Are you trying-
Well,
Are
I'm
you
gonna
able to-
motion
I'm
on
gonna,
the
I'm gonna send them
simpler
both
one.
an email
Which
Yeah,
is,
okay.
with the
Okay.
question framed
Okay,
to give them the context for what we're asking.
after that, would you then copy all of us on the feedback?
Mhm.
So did I hear that you all are comfortable?
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion that we increase the monthly salary for city council members from $500 to $750, based on the fact that the last increase was made in 2003, and taking into consideration the increase in cost of living and the current expectations and responsibility of council members.
And this would be effective as of,
May
May
2027.
yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor for discussion. I need a second.
A second.
Okay, now discussion is open.
So the city council would take office June or May?
Elections, April,
I can't
I think
remember.
it's May.
Okay.
May of, this should be in effect May of 27.
Okay.
That's what we, is that not correct?
Is it May 27?
When is the election?
It's not until
The
27.
election is in 27.
So this will be 28. Well,
No,
No,
no.
okay, yeah,
it'll be
It's just like the
27.
mayor's.
Yeah.
It'll be when
Go
the new
into
council
effect
starts.
in 27.
yeah.
And that should be May of 27. Who can quickly text? I'm sorry, I failed to,
Who do you want to reach?
well, just text Scott and say, he'll know. Say,
Well, I can look
I
it
think
up.
the election is in May, and I think you take office in June. I think
Especially
that's
if you
right.
have the 18-month lead time, I think.
Yeah.
it would be June.
It's May.
I know that we are to decide on this for May of 27.
Okay.
I do know that
Yeah,
that's what
early
our
vote, yeah,
requirements are.
It's May.
Okay.
Our first meeting might not be until June, but it goes into effect for May.
Okay.
And would only affect new council members, or the slate that is provided in the next election.
Right.
So what other discussion? So we have one motion on the floor, we have a second, and the motion, Mark, would you like to repeat it? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to raise the current city council committee from 500 to 750.
Correct.
And this would be starting in May of 27.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, motion is made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, all right. Now, can we have a second motion, only if you want to? I think 750, they'll be jumping up and down. But, I want you all to make that decision. Do you wanna make a second motion if the law will allow us to add in a cost of living? We don't have to.
Just trying to think of how to word it.
Well, you would just say, the 750 plus a yearly cost of living increase capped at 2.5. But we don't have to do it. Certainly, they're gonna be happy with this.
I just think, okay.
I'm talking, yeah, let's think through it and talk. Again, I don't wanna sway. I wanna,
Can we, you said we really need to make a decision by Friday?
we can get back together. We don't even have to, the mayor is very good about pertinent information. If it's even the week before, we can add it to the agenda. We just have to have the current agenda, and Marquisha is here to back me up. But the agenda has to be ready 5 days prior to the meeting and has to be sent to the media. Marquisha, is that 5 days prior to Thursday night? Because we a lot of times have changes from Thursday to Tuesday. So is it only 48 hours?
So that if we vote for cost of living, that wouldn't take effect till 28.
48
I guess,
days.
For the
would it?
agenda.
Yes, correct,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So we can even get back together if you all would like to. We need to do, if we're gonna do, this cannot be something over email or Zoom. It has to be either now or we need to get back together. And I like these people. I like them. I wish I had my phone. I'd just say, Lewis, I need you right now.
Well, let me see.
Okay.
Are you all wanting, let's just discuss it open. Are you all wanting to do a cost of living increase?
I do, because I don't want to get put in the same position where salaries are stuck for 23 years.
Yeah.
How about, I move that beginning,
Hey, Lewis.
Okay, he's got Lewis. I'm sorry. I apologize. So go ahead, his thoughts.
I'm gonna say, beginning in May of 2028, the city council pay be subject to a 2.5% cost of living increase if permitted by law.
Now, you want to do that every year until this,
Annually.
4 years, annually, and to end upon 27, so in the 4 years,
For the next term,
until the next term.
until the conclusion of the next term.
Okay.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah, and I think that, yeah, we said 2.5% cap, right? Yeah.
Okay. But I think he was preferring a set number, not a fluctuation.
Right.
Nathan, will you tell him we did do the mayor yesterday? Okay. All right, I think we got a no on that. And I'd like to, I think we all need to understand it.
He thinks that it's okay if it's
Oh.
done before they do it.
Correct.
But
Correct.
he said this is something that we've talked about before. There was some concern if it were done by private act, that would be the legislature going against their own powers to do that. But he thinks this may be okay, but he's going to look at it,
Okay,
and he said he'll get us an answer tomorrow.
okay. Okay, so,
If it's legal, it
Le-
passes. If it's not legal, it's the back.
That's,
Goes
and
back.
that's basically what he said. That we'll
Now-
just-
for an HR standpoint, is it adequate and okay? Because legally, we have to do this in the form here if we make the two motions. And we're all with the understanding that if Lewis Cobb, our city attorney, comes back, no, that's not how it should be handled, that we would go back to motion one. Is that, I would just want it stated that, yes, this is, we probably should have asked Ron. Ron
Yeah,
is our.
Ron, if it's permissible, I guess that's your question.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I
if,
apologize, we didn't have everybody, more people are interested in the mayor's salary and not this one, and I probably should have requested Ron, but he's real busy, but he's our, I would say, any legislation type
Yeah,
person
so
that
good
he
for
really follows that.
if your motion says, if the city attorney advises against this, as long as you create the fallback, you'll be fine.
Well, unless it is permitted by law.
Right.
So, I think,
Well, only a judge can decide what's permitted by law.
well, but there's a statute, well, not necessarily. I mean, if there's a statute that provides for it.
Well, if you have to litigate it to figure out if it's allowed. But yeah, I get your point.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Kelsey.
Let me see if he's here.
I got our HR lovely manager here, so she's the know-all, and I thought we were fine with her.
Let's
But I
see.
have intelligent people, that's why I chose you all.
You could just put a proviso in the motion and then
I
just.
think we could too.
Yeah.
I think we could too. All right, so we have one motion on the floor that was seconded and passed. So now we are going to ask our chief of staff if he thinks it's okay to make the second motion either, if If we can do it, it passes. If we don't, we go back to motion one. Okay, so would you like to state motion number two?
Well, I think the, yeah, I mean, the second motion would be, so how does this get passed again? It has to go through how many readings?
It usually two, but we think one for this one, but I want to make sure we have the 2 months because most new business takes 2 readings. And I would text Scott that real quick. I would feel more comfortable if it was 2 readings, allowed March and April.
I hate to make the motion subject to the advice of Lewis, because Lewis probably would not want the city council raise, the cost of living raise hinging on his opinion.
Let's see what Kelsey, if we can just pause for a moment and see, because Ron is kind of the legislation person. And Nathan is looking too, because we do have a really good motion on the floor accepted right now. Thank you, Kelsey.
Ron says no.
No?
Yep, he says the only issue is we can't necessarily make a decision, based upon an email or whatever
Oh, yeah, we
Lewis
can't do,
yeah,
okay.
or whatever Lewis recommends. We'll
Right.
have to come back if we wanna consider it to do a second,
Okay.
for a second
Did
meeting.
he think, though, it was legal to do a cost of living for council members?
I mentioned it to him, he did not oppose, but that does not mean he
Yeah,
agrees,
I
so.
don't think there's gonna be anything
Yeah.
wrong with it, but.
Is that county, city ordinance or state law?
Well, it's kind of different because, I mean, county commission, theirs is all by state statute. But because the city of Jackson has a separate charter that did go through, approved by the General
Guild
Assembly,
Private Act, yeah, I'm just looking to see.
it would be subject to whatever our charter says. And if the charter does not address it, then
I have not seen that in the charter, but,
it may not.
There's a constitutional, Article 9, Section something, but in state constitution, but I can't remember what it says.
how about we do this? We have a great motion on the floor. We will find out from Lewis and Ron, let him do some investigating. I will get with each of you all tomorrow, and if we need to come back for a meeting, then we will decide when that is within the next week. How does that sound?
Perfect. Works for me.
I agree.
I
Okay, would you all like to look at a tentative date since I have all of you all together? And I feel like I need to provide lunch next time because y'all have done a great job. Not that I didn't think, but I really appreciate the work and the thought. So,
I think Monday would be out since it's President's Day.
yes, and Mark has a conflict on Mondays, so the 7th, Wednesday is the Rotary. We could do after Rotary on Wednesday, maybe? Mark, are you in town?
It can be.
Well, I don't
Yes.
wanna, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Charles, what do you think about the 18th?
18th at what time?
Well,
1
let's
o'clock.
see, some of you all go to Rotary, so would 1:30 work? What would interfere with your,
1:30 fine.
1:30 works.
Charles? Okay, let's go ahead and mark down 1:30. I feel much better with that. and
Actually,
we'll legal.
Wait, never mind. Good.
1:30? Okay, city. And in the next 2 days, I should have information. So how about I state that upon more review, that if we need to meet again, that it will be held on the 18th at 1:30 in this room. And if we find out through the research that our first motion is the one that we need to stick with, we've already made that motion, we should not have to reconvene, we should not have to re-meet.
Right.
Okay? Does that sound good?
But
Yeah.
Yes.
if the cost of living thing is permissible, we'd have to come back.
Correct. Now, let's go
That
ahead
would
and
give us
decide.
additional time to stew on it and.
Well, what I was thinking, and I'd love to know y'all's thoughts, but we can make a second motion that is contingent on it, the cost of living raise being legal.
Right.
And if it is determined to be legal, then we've already passed it. If it
I
turns,
thought you
We
were
can't, but we cannot do, according to legal and Ron, we
Mm-hmm.
cannot vote on something. It has to be in person for that decision and that motion, correct?
Yeah.
Would you tell them what Ron?
Basically, his explanation was if we're making a proposed motion, but we still need to gather more information that's contingent upon that information, then we'll have to come back in person and vote in person on that item. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either
A
way,
lot
we
of
have to
those
come back.
laws,
Yeah,
Yeah.
either way.
They've changed recently, like Governor Lee during COVID, we were allowed, then that was taken away. So there are, but I'd like to know, is that something you all want to consider?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like my job to consider it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me
For
too,
sure.
but let's make it retroactive.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, then I think that we have our decision there. I think we should go ahead and have that date set and then not put so much pressure because Kelsey, I thank you so much for being right on the spot. And Nathan, I always appreciate you coming in, dropping everything. But to be fair to our city attorney, he does not like pop quizzes, as that he says all the time.
Right.
So I think we've done really good work today.
Good.
Okay?
Agreed.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
so move.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Now, you all are free to discuss, talk, whatever, but I do think I think we did real good work.
Agreed.
Markeisha said yes.
Right. Very
Oh,
good.
yes, do we stop the tape wherever it is? Thank you. Okay.
Stop.
Okay, now you're off record.
Very nice.
We'll meet
Except for the
back here.
newspaper back there.
Yes, we will be back